Have you ever pushed a last minute change to production only to break everything?
Here, use this!
Or maybe your GitHub repository is a chaotic mess with no structure, no automation, and no security. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone there. Many teams struggle with GitHub mismanagement, leading to wasted time, security risk, and inefficient workflows. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Good, where I do videos everything about cloud, AI, and DevOps. Today, we're diving into a new feature of GitHub Well-Architected Framework, a structured guide to design to help organizations implementing the best practices, improve security, and streamline their GitHub operations. In this video, we will walk through the official documentation, explain its 5 pillars, and provide real-world examples to help you understand and apply these best practices in your own GitHub workflows. Let's get started. What is the GitHub Well-Architected Framework? This Well-Architected Framework is a structured approach that helps teams to optimize their GitHub workflows based on the industry best practices that are designed by the GitHub team. It is built around 5 key areas of focus, known as the 5 pillars. The first pillar is productivity. It is about improving efficiency in the development and building your workflows as well as your applications. The second pillar is the collaboration, enhancing teamwork and code review processes in your projects in your organization. The third pillar is your application security, which is embedding security practices throughout development and operations. Fourth pillar is your governance, managing access control and compliance effectively in your organization for your team and users. And the last, 5th pillar is the architecture. This is about designing scalable and maintainable GitHub environments. These pillars form the foundation of well-architected GitHub environments. Let's break down each one with the real-world examples. Previous projects, developers were manually tagging every release, which was both time-consuming and prone to mistakes. By introducing GitHub Actions for automatic tagging and CI/CD pipelines, we reduced the release times by 60% and completely eliminating tagging errors. When it comes to how to improve the productivity, I can suggest using GitHub Actions to automate your CI/CD workflows, implementing code linting and static analysis to catch issues earlier, and automate dependency updates using tools like Dependabot, which are the features of the GitHub. Our second pillar is collaboration, structuring the teamwork and code reviews. Collaboration ensures that teams can work together efficiently while maintaining the code quality and the consistency. A lack of structure in the pull request and branching strategies often leads to code conflicts, duplicated efforts, and unreviewed changes, making it to production, which we don't want it, right? As one of the real-world example, I once worked with a team that had no structured branching strategy, and developers would push directly to the main branch without reviews. This team was new to the GitHub and the Git environment. This resulted in the frequent bugs and broken production environments. We introduced a branching strategy with mandatory pull request reviews and Slack notifications for PR approvals. Within a few months, productivity increased significantly and the production incidents decreased. Best practices for collaboration are implementing a branching strategy. It would be a Git flow or trunk-based development or GitHub flow strategy, and you would require a peer-reviewed pull request before merging your changes, as well as using issue tracking and project boards to improve your workflow transparency. Our third pillar is the application security, which is embedding security into your development lifecycle. Without proper security measures, repositories may expose sensitive data, have unverified dependencies, or be vulnerable to supply chain attacks. As an example, I saw a developer once mistakenly committed an API key to a public GitHub repository, which led to unauthorized usage and thousands of dollars in the cloud cost before we could resolve it. We implemented GitHub secret scanning and pre-comment hooks, preventing secrets from being committed to the repositories in the future. When it comes to key security practices in GitHub, I would recommend enabling GitHub secret scanning to detect and block exposed credentials, which is one of my favorite features in GitHub environment. As well as you can require signed commits to ensure code integrity while using branch protection rules to prevent unauthorized changes. Our fourth pillar is the governance, which means managing access control and the compliance. Governance involves setting up policies and controls to ensure that only the right people have access to the right resources. Without proper governance, repositories can become security risks due to excessive permissions, outdated access policies, or lack of visibility into changes. Once upon a time, during an audit for a client, I discovered that multiple ex-employees still had admin accesses to private repositories. This posed a serious security risk. By implementing role-based access controls and automated access reviews, we significantly reduced the risk of unauthorized accesses. And if we talk about the governance best practices on this pillar, I would recommend regularly audit repository permissions and remove unnecessary accesses. Absolutely use single sign-ons and enforce multi-factor authentications. Set up organization-wide level policies for pull requests and your protected branches. Last but not least, our fifth pillar, architecture, which means designing a scalable GitHub environment. The final pillar focuses on designing a GitHub setup that scales as teams and projects as much as you grow. Without a well-structured architecture, repositories can become bloated, build times can slow down, and CI/CD pipelines can become unmanageable. I know the pain there. Once upon a time again, I worked with a startup that had all its projects in a single repository, leading to long build times and frequent merge conflicts. By restructuring the code base using a monorepo approach with better CI/CD optimization, they reduced the build times by 55% and improved code maintainability. When it comes to how to improve your architecture, I would say use repository templates to standardize your project structure. Optimize CI/CD pipelines for faster and more reliable builds while you're utilizing pipeline templates, as well as separate your infrastructure code from the application code to keep repositories clean and more manageable. After we went over the pillars, now it's time for the assessment. The assessment allows organizations to evaluate their practice against industry standards and identify areas for improvements. Here's how it works. Team answers a series of questions about their productivity, security, governance, and collaboration practices, which are our 5 pillars. The assessment provides personalized recommendations to optimize the workflows. Organizations can track their progress over time by regularly running the assessments for themselves. This assessment helps companies avoid costly mistakes and streamline their development practices efficiently. And in order to do the assessment, we need a checklist. GitHub gave us a checklist to do. This checklist helps teams assess and optimize their GitHub setup using the GitHub Well-Architected Framework. Follow these steps to improve productivity, collaboration, security, governance, and architecture in your GitHub workflows. The key steps are: engage with an expert. Consult a GitHub or a partner expert for insights and recommendations. Second thing, review the framework. Understand the 5 key pillars, as it's gonna be repeated: productivity, collaboration, application security, and governance, as well as the architecture. Third step is a conduct an initial review. Assess your repositories, your security settings, your CI/CD workflows. Identify manual processes that can be automated or that needs to be automated. fourth step is gather stakeholder insights. Interview your developers, your DevOps engineers, and your security team. Identify the pain points and opportunities for improvements for your organization. The fifth step is perform analysis and scoring. Evaluate your alignment with the best practices in each pillar that we went over. Use GitHub Insights to measure your productivity and security posture as a metric in your organization. The sixth one is implement your recommendations. Prioritize security fixes first, then automate the stuff and govern your updates. Apply branching protection rules on your CI/CD pipelines and the access controls. Set clear short-term and long-term improvement goals. By following this checklist, you can transform your GitHub setup in a secure, efficient, and scalable environment. And here we are. The last step, what we need to know about GitHub is the anti-patterns. Recognizing and eliminating anti-patterns is essential for maintaining an efficient, secure, and well-organized GitHub environment. These are practices that seem to be beneficial at first, but ultimately lead to inefficiencies, security risks, and collaboration issues. Below are some of the most common GitHub anti-patterns and how to avoid them. The first one is creating too many GitHub organizations. Setting up separate GitHub organizations for different teams or projects fragments resources, making collaboration way much harder. Managing multiple organizations increases overhead permissions, integrations, and the governance processes. I would say to avoid this, use a single organization and structure teams with GitHub teams and project boards instead of splitting across multiple organizations. The second anti-pattern is the skipping code reviews. Merging pull requests without through reviews increases the risk of bugs and the security vulnerabilities. What to do? Enforce branch protection rules and require pull request approvals to maintain code quality. The third anti-pattern I would say is the poor branching strategies. Working directly on main or lacking a consistent branching strategy can cause unstable deployments. What to do to avoid this? Adopt a structured branching model such as GitHub Flow or Git Flow and use feature branches for new developments. The fourth anti-pattern that we see here is the unstructured commits and the messages. Large, unclear commits make it difficult to track changes and debug issues. To avoid this, keep your comments small and focus with clear, descriptive commit messages explaining the purpose of your changes. The fifth one, it's ignoring security best practices. Who would do that, right?
Me.
Hard-coded secrets, outdated dependencies, and weak permissions expose repositories to security risk. To avoid this, use GitHub secrets for sensitive data, enable dependable for dependency updates, and enforce multi-factor authentication. The sixth anti-pattern is inefficient use of issues and project management, which cause poor issue tracking leads to disorganization and unclear priorities. To avoid this, use GitHub issues, labels, and the milestones to organize and prioritize work efficiently. And here we are, wrapping up the GitHub Well-Architected Framework, going over the 5 pillars, knowing how to do the assessment, what are the checklists, what not to do, what to do. I think you're now ready to take this and apply it to your own GitHub environment. Whether you're working solo or in a small team or just managing a large organization, these principles will help you create a more secure, efficient, and scalable setup. It's all about taking the action, right? Start with getting started checklist, address the anti-patterns, and continuously refine your workflows to keep things running smoothly. Trust me, implementing these best practices will save you time, reduce the risk, and make collaboration way easier. Now, I want to hear from you. What's the biggest GitHub mistake you have came across? What's one thing that you're going to improve in your GitHub setup after watching this video? Drop a comment below. I would love to hear your thoughts and experiences. I'll share mine in the comments as well. If this video helped you, make sure to like, subscribe to my channel, and please turn on the notifications. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.